interesting point, the hippie movement, because the whole thing had been, you must get this education, you must get this family life, and you must get the home in the suburbs. But then, about the middle to late 60s, some people, not a lot at the beginning, started saying, my parents did that, and my parents were not happy. They just branched off and said, well, we're going to have our own path and enjoy what we want to enjoy. And so it was just, a hodgepodge, do what you want kind of thing, which didn't make anybody happy either. And that's when Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami came into the whole movement and said, no, you guys need some direction here. You will never be happy doing this. I have a formula for true happiness. If you want to be really happy, then do this. And he started introducing the no discipline world of these, hippies into the world of spiritual life and happiness and discipline. And, you don't do these things. And he gave the reasons why. He first started with who you are. You are not your bodies. You are spirit soul. He started with that. This is who you are. And the reason you cannot be happy by these other means of free love and, free drugs and free everything is because it's not going to satisfy you, the spirit soul.
Hey guys, welcome to the Breaking Trail podcast. Ruben here, and we are going to discuss discipline today. This is an episode we recorded in September 2021 when Emma Raducanu, the 18-year-old, won the US Open. Balakhilya and me will speak about how the same principles that are so important in spiritual life is required for material success as well. Hard work, discipline, respect, and having a higher goal. And taking the example of how Bhaktivedanta Swami came to the hippie movement, the no discipline, do whatever you want, floaty, new age kind of lifestyles, brought this deep understanding to them that allowed them to be really happy and enter the world of real spiritual life, happiness, and discipline.
Well, I thought we'd talk about kind of just the idea of chanting, but this is also a part of, just another part of what we can talk about is this.
Discipline, yeah.
Chinese discipline, this Chinese Romanian tennis star.
Yeah.
She just, you heard about her?
I heard you speak about her. That's what I heard.
Oh, yeah. So you didn't read it in the news?
No, not yet.
Okay. It's going to be gone soon if you don't read it.
Oh.
It'll be finished.
Oh.
Because it happened September 11th.
Oh, I see.
So, but she's still on the front page.
You said that video had 200 million views.
Yeah. Just one hashtag had 200 million views.
Wow.
And the video of her commenting about her Chinese, in Mandarin, that's the language of China, right?
Yeah.
Mandarin.
Yeah.
Anyway, she gave some message to the Chinese people in Mandarin. It's got over 1 million and something views. Yeah. So.
Chinese everywhere.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I thought we'd talk about is chanting and read Bhaktivinoda Thakur's message about chanting.
Oh, cool. Perfect. I was just quickly looking through Srimad Bhagavatam about some mentions of this discipline, but you already have some quotes, so that's good.
Quotes in my head only.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I just come from the head. I don't come from the pages.
Air quotes.
It's just a point,
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
spiritual life is based on discipline. Any yoga system that you may, entertain is always stressing discipline.
Yeah.
But it goes outside of this, the yoga system to everyday life. That's one thing that's missing heavily in life today is discipline. And another point about this girl, she's 18 years old. Emma, her name is Emma Raducanu. That may not be pronounced right, but her mother is Chinese, her father is Romanian, and she lives in the UK. She grew up in the UK. But, she's become this world-famous tennis star because she won the U.S. Open, and very prestigious. And interesting enough, her opponent was also a teenager.
What?
It was a teenage
Really?
shootout, so to speak. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And but when asked about her success and so on, she said, it was her training at home. She said, my mother's, training was always hard work and discipline. And that's the Chinese lifestyle, really. I mean, that's their culture. And she said her grandmother was so resilient, just in her discipline and determination that nothing could bring her down. And so she grew up with this kind of training.
Yeah.
So it's made this huge impact on her life, and she's still, in that consciousness because of what you get at home. This is the main point. I mean, that's where the training should begin, at home. I mean, that's the system, right? That's what parents' role is. That's their obligation, is to train the children.
Yeah.
And how they train the children will have a large impact on what their child becomes. Yeah. We've talked about this a little bit before.
Yeah, we have. I remember.
But as society progresses, so to speak, the discipline at home and the training at home actually diminishes more and more. And the example at home is not a worthy example to follow.
No, it's more like you do what you want, and they bend to the will of the child.
Or the parents are doing things and have a lifestyle that's not, exemplary in a positive way for the kids, and they just emulate what they see or the training that they get. And I just read about this drug lord, and he is also Chinese. And he, biggest drug lord in the world, and he was big in heroin. He started off very simple. Anyway, got into the heroin business and had huge success. He was operating out of the Golden Triangle, which is Cambodia, Laos, and Thailand, where three countries come together.
Wow.
It's kind of a triangle right there, and this is the big production area for opium. Poppy is, and then that made into opium and heroin. So most of the heroin, some huge percentage, comes from that small area. And it's pure and it's high quality and whatever. And so anyway, finally he got busted, went to jail, spent 9 years in jail. But in jail he met, another person, which is normally the case, that was very expert in, the drug trade. And they kind of traded notes and, kind of got trained up. in each other's expertise. And he was still running, a big business out of jail while he was still in jail. Then when he got out, he had now been introduced to methamphetamines, meth. Yeah. And so he got into that business. And anyway, he became the biggest meth master in the world. 31, well, they say that his business was like $30 to $61 billion a year.
Wow.
And anyway, eventually he got caught again, years later. I think from 2006 to 2019, he operated, and he just got caught again. But anyway, all that's just, the details. But he said when he grew up, his mother had like 7 kids or something. And he didn't grow up in China. I think he grew up in Hong Kong or something. But his mother didn't have time to look after all the kids. And so he was just left, to spend a lot of time on the street.
Oh.
And that's where he got into bad association and developed all these, bad habits and consciousness and so on. So that's back to the same point. He didn't have that home training.
Right.
It was just not there for him. So he just went out and did what he wanted. 12 years old, he's doing this, and he gave some, timeline of what happened in what years. And he that was the result of him.
Yeah.
So it's so important what we get at home. And but if the parents don't have the training, then they can't pass anything on. And so the Vedic system, which we're always, promoting, is all about home training. Parents have that obligation, Yeah. In fact, the Vedas actually say that one should not become a mother, a father, or a political leader, or a teacher, like a school teacher, or any leadership position, unless they can teach their followers, this absolute knowledge, and basically take the role of spiritual guide and free them from the wheel of birth and death. I mean, that's a huge responsibility, but that's the responsibility that automatically comes with being in those various positions of authority.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But even, how often are you landing? How many people are coming to such a position of authority even because they full-heartedly want to serve others? And how many do it because of, even...
Yeah. The numbers are like non-existent.
Yeah.
Something's echoing. Ooh.
Yeah. Sound like you're underwater.
Yeah. I just went swimming. Scuba diving.
All right. Just a short swim. Okay, you're back now. Thanks.
I'm back. So anyway, if you look at the value of the yoga system, and, if one follows the yoga system, the teaching is there, what value it is across the board throughout society. Because parents that are following the system will, of course, educate their child in, the material things they need to know. Reading, writing, arithmetic, as they said when I grew up. The 3 R's. R's, reading, writing, R-I-T, and arithmetic, not arithmetic. Yeah, that was a saying that, the 3 R's, you must, excel in the 3 R's. So anyway, of course, that's necessary, but also the spiritual training, and the discipline. You got to control your senses. That's what the yoga system is. You got to control the senses, and make it so you are the master of the senses. But for that to be a reality, somebody has to train you to take that responsibility to train your own senses.
Exactly.
To not see it as a good thing, to let the mind and the senses run wild and try to fulfill every desire that pops up, when you view some object of the senses, try to follow the desire to enjoy that. And
well, that's the same
cetera,
metaphor as
but
raising kids as well. I mean, I just like the metaphor there is kind of analogous. It's kind of the same, because when you raise kids can be like your mind, that can be a metaphor for your mind. They want to do all different kinds of things. Do you change that by letting them satisfy their desires of doing this and this, or do you try to, give them another task, or, do you try to satisfy them?
Or just say no.
Or just say no.
I mean, there's a word, it's simple, 2 letters, no. But somehow people are afraid to say that.
Yeah.
You can't refrain your kid. You can't discipline your kid. You can't tell them no, because somehow this will damage them psychologically. I mean, that's the New Age
I see what you
philosophy
mean.
that many parents follow.
Yeah.
And they, that might damage them psychologically. But, my generation, at least in my family, and the people I knew, all my friends, I mean, we were raised with that word no, very common, and I didn't see anybody get psychologically damaged from it, And when I went to my friend's house, their parents were not afraid to tell me no either.
Yeah.
It wasn't like
Yeah.
only my mom and dad could tell me no.
I see.
But when I went to my friend's house, his mom and his dad could also tell me no. And they say, no, you can't do that. And I was taught to respect my elders and respect them.
I was just going to say, because I think maybe parents want to be in, want to have the capacity or the possibility of saying no, but then the kid completely, revolts and has this big reaction to it, or doesn't accept it, does it anyway. So like, what comes first? How do you get them to do that? Then how do you get into the habit of doing that?
You can't start saying no way down the road somewhere.
Yeah. Mm.
You just let them do whatever they want until you reach a certain 7, 8, 9, whatever years it is, and then you start doing it, and it's too late. You lost them already.
Yeah.
And no, it has to start from the beginning. From the very, very beginning. They learn from the beginning what they learn.
Yeah.
So out of the gate, day one, they start learning, discipline, the word no, respect your elders, there's right, there's wrong, this is good, this is bad, don't do this, don't do that, do this, do that. Then it's nothing new here. This is like common. And like I say, when I grew up, not only me and my family, but all my friends and all my sister's friends, and every kid was basically taught like that. So it wasn't like I went to another house and they just went wild and do anything they want. And, it was the same standard, across the boards, and that just was normal.
Which is so important.
That's what kid life was.
Yeah.
And when we went to school, nobody had to teach us these things.
Yeah.
The teacher didn't spend 99% of her energy trying to discipline the class.
Exactly.
Everybody was already, trained before you went to school at age 6 or 5 or whatever time it was.
Yeah.
And then, she could teach
exactly
what her position was, and she didn't have to just be the new disciplinarian in your life for the first
because
time.
No one else dares to do it. The parents at home don't want to do it, so they hope that the school will fix it.
And then if the teacher does discipline the kid and the kid goes home and tells the parents come after the kid, after the teacher.
It's a big problem, yeah.
Who are you to tell my kid what to do? and then there's a whole conflict there. Parents after the teacher.
My mom is a teacher, and she said that the same thing has happened. Like, whereas before, when I was young, when I was being in trouble at school, that happens sometimes, and they told my mother, and she said, "Okay, let's have a meeting about it." And she listened to the teachers who respected their authority, and it wasn't like, oh, he's my prince, he's always right. Like, no, but she accepted that.
Yeah.
But nowadays she says it's she barely dares to say something, because you have that reaction. The parents then come and they chastise the teacher for disciplining the kid.
Yeah. And that
difficult.
reinforces the kid's whole deviant behavior.
And his position as a master and the one who's right, and exactly, his behavior.
My parents backed me up.
Yeah, exactly. Wow.
I know, not personally know, but I know of, a lot of teachers that just quit.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't what they signed up for. They didn't sign up for that new role. They signed up as a teacher. They had something to offer the students, and when that wasn't possible, or they couldn't even say what they needed to say, they just quit.
Wow.
Walked away.
Wow.
I don't need this. So it's a big problem. But it was just so. I just read this article about this Emma, the tennis star, and she said that was what made it possible for her to succeed in the way she did.
Yeah.
Just carry on regardless. Hard work, discipline, respect, and the result is very good.
No.
So spiritual life and so-called material life, are not that different. If you want the highest level of material life, you've got to apply spiritual principles to achieve it. The respect, the discipline, the hard work, the higher goal, those common, things in the yoga systems of all systems. But it doesn't only have to be, quote, official yoga systems. Any spiritual system teaches the same thing. People say, "Oh, well, that's yoga, but I'm a Christian, or I'm a Muslim, or whatever." It's the same. It's spiritual principles. It's not some sectarian thing.
No.
And if you find a person with that kind of training enters into a political position, they carry that with them. They don't leave that out the door somewhere and come in there and just be, a completely different person. They're qualified political leaders.
Yeah.
And
but then you also,
unfortunately, go ahead.
No, I mean, you also know why you do things. Isn't that kind of an important factor as well, perhaps, when raising kids? Would you say that they know, like, why that is wrong and why that is good, and why the rule is like this, which feels like it's missing in some religious groups? You're missing the link. Like, why do we do this, and why is that wrong? Like, what is the bigger picture here?
Yes, it has to be education. It has to be not only you must do this, but this is the reason.
Yeah.
Just like you said.
Yeah.
Because if you do this, this will be the one result. If you do this, this will be another result.
Exactly.
See? And obviously, this is a better result than this. Don't do anything blindly. Do it out of a conscious decision that this is the best. But until a person reaches a certain age, they don't have the freedom to take that responsibility of, I make my own decisions. Up until a certain time, they're not deemed responsible enough to make the right decisions, So therefore, they still need to be, tutored or, guided or restricted, if you will.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Mm-hmm.
so on and so on and so on.
Mm.
And
It's funny what you said. There's a friend of I think he's an old friend of yours, Krishna Katha. He said that after the kid is like up to the age of 2, you have to serve the kid in the beginning with his basic needs and help, because he's kind of helpless little creature, but at 2 years, at least like around the time of 2 years of age, you need to switch that role from serving to he's not the master anymore. He's not the high, the head of the family. Like, he needs to learn that he's his position. Let's put it like that. His subordinate position.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be hard, he said, but you gotta do it. Like,
you have to do it. I mean, I used to fly a lot before COVID. I was on an airplane every 2 weeks, sometimes every week, going from one country to another and so on. So I saw a lot of parent-kid interactions, on airplanes. You see them at the airport. And, many, many times the kids were just absolutely out of control, and just the parents had no control at all. But it was too late. These kids had never been trained. But you see other parents, and it was basically the opposite. The parent would tell the kid, okay, come over here, sit down, give them something to play with, and they could do it. The other one's running up and down the aisles of the plane and, screaming and, just going wild. And if the parents tried to stop them or restrain them in any way, they threw a tantrum, and everybody on the plane is just going, oh man.
yeah.
And so it's a real issue here. And society is just kids that are grown up.
Exactly.
The functioning, active members of society are just grown up kids. They came up from wherever they did. And they take their various positions in society, of leadership or not leadership. And what they got from the beginning is what they still have or don't have. And so it's important. It is very important. So the spiritual system, is a perfect system. I mean, like, I was raised a Christian. I said that many times. And this was just what you did. That was the teaching of Christianity. That was the teaching of the Bible, and it was nothing unusual. It was not like some weird sect somewhere that was, harming their kids. It was like, and everybody was better off for it. We were all better off for it, And kids had duties to perform. They had work to do. They just couldn't sit in front of a screen all day. There weren't much screens to sit in front of, but, I'd go to see my friend, and, he had the farm next to ours, and I'd go to, oh, Larry, let's go down to the river and go swimming, or, and his dad would say, now, Johnny, you can stay here. You can be with Larry all the day if you want, but you got to work, because he's got to work. And if you're going to be here, you got to work too.
Oh, wow.
So if I didn't have any work to do, I mean, I didn't obviously at home. That's why I was there, then I'd just jump in, and we're working together and we're having fun together as working.
Wow.
Doing the farm chores, whatever the duties were for that time and place. And, then after we did our work, it's okay, now you guys can go down and go swimming, or, do whatever you want to do. Ride your bikes or whatever. And it was cool. I never felt, angry or restrained or disappointed. We got to be together. We got to have a good time together.
And you took part as well. You took part of the work that had to be done, which is,
Yeah, which made it go quicker.
Yeah, that's true. Wow.
So we could go out and do whatever. Yeah, it was nice. It was very nice. And, I don't know if it's ever going to come back to that, but there's value there. And so now, we have a worldwide community of people following the Bhakti Yoga system. And, there's people, parents, fathers and mothers who are having children, and they're, in that position themselves now. But the ones who were raised, more freelance, do whatever you want, are having a harder time, doing what they should do as parents than the ones who had their own training, and they're just passing it down, and it just becomes easy for them. So, anyway, that's just some musings from that one article I read about this young girl.
But and this is something that we've spoken of before. I think that the reason is kind of important, because and there's a quote from I read about discipline and motivation that spoke about, like, motivation is fading, but discipline grows after time, and that discipline is a lifestyle. But again, yeah, the why has to be a big part here of like growing that discipline. Like this girl who made the tennis player, like, still, like, had a hard work, but she's gotta had a, like, I'm sure she had this goal that she was gonna achieve. You know what I mean? Like, that was really important to her, and everything was worth that goal.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we got to have a goal, and that's another thing that's missing. What is the goal?
Yeah.
And for most people, it's just enjoy the senses, but it's not a real goal. It's just like, temporary, momentary sensual pleasures.
Yeah.
And the goal might be to, do as many bad things as you can. I'm not going to go into details, but,
Yeah, and then
I'm the best at doing the bad things, but that's not a goal. I mean, that's no goal.
No. So there's no future in that. Like, without the goal, there's no future. It's just whatever is here now. Everything's good now. Be happy here and now. But like, where do you want to go? Kind of thing.
Yeah. What do you want to do with your life?
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of times people they don't know. I mean, they have no idea what they should do with their life. And, if you just say, what do you want to do with your life? Then you're back in, well, it's just what I want to do. It's like, I'm the authority here, and I want to do nothing.
Yeah,
I don't want to work. I want to, not do the things that, are constructive. I want to just be a lazy bum,
Yeah, I see.
So, it's got to be some higher authority that tells you not what you want to do, but what you should do. There has to be somewhere that principle enters into the formula. Like, the old idea of get an education, well, that's what you should do. That's not the goal in life that's going to make you happy, But at least, it's not like so whimsical that I don't need an education, I don't need this, I don't need that. Interesting point. The hippie movement, see, you missed that, but I didn't.
Yeah. Oh.
Or maybe you were there in another body, so you might not have missed it either. You might have been right there. We might have been.
I just can't remember it.
Yeah, but one lifetime later, you just don't remember.
Yes.
But anyway,
Wow.
that was the basis of the hippie movement, because the whole thing had been, you must get this education, you must get this family life, and you must get the home in the suburbs, and, just be middle class, America, because I was in America, middle class America, and whatever. And that'll make you happy. I mean, that was the goal. And people worked very hard to reach that goal. But then, about the middle to late 60s, some people, not a lot at the beginning, started saying, oh, my parents did that. I was raised in that family that achieved that goal, and my parents were not happy.
Yeah.
And so, therefore, it didn't work. I want to take another direction in life. And so that was kind of where it branched off, instead of just, like a robot following this example.
Yeah.
They just branched off and said, well, we're going to have our own path and enjoy what we want to enjoy, and everything society says not to do, we're going to do it. And that's basically what they did. So it was just, a hodgepodge, do what you want kind of thing, which didn't make anybody happy either.
Yeah.
And that's when Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami came into the whole movement of this free lifestyle and said, no, you guys need some direction here. You will never be happy doing this. I have a formula for true happiness. If you want to be really happy, then do this. And he started introducing the no discipline world of these, hippies into the world of spiritual life and happiness and discipline, and, you don't do these things. And he gave the reasons why, just like you were, saying is important. Don't do this. He first started with who you are. You are not your bodies. You are spirit soul. He started with that ground level introduction to truth. This is who you are. And the reason you cannot be happy by these other means of free love and, free drugs and free everything is because it's not going to satisfy you, the spirit soul. And people are already kind of getting disillusioned, about, well, I'm doing all this stuff and I'm just bummed, now I got a, drug addiction, and, I'm got no money, I'm living in the street, and, had 2 or 3 rounds of venereal disease, and, I'm cold and whatever.
Yeah.
So, some people were interested in this. Wow. Like one person who took the, Bhaktivedanta's teachings and followed him was saying, we were all looking for a high, and drugs produce that, but we wanted a natural high, something that wasn't drug dependent.
Yeah.
And so, this was a way to actually achieve the goal we were already seeking and experiencing, but much more on a real level, And so that's what her experience was, and she was convinced from that this is really what I truly am looking for. Yeah. Happiness, freedom, but not freedom, to let the senses go wild, but freedom from the illusions of life. The false promises of, this will make you happy and that will make you happy, and not destroying my body and mind with drugs and, all the other things that floated around that world.
Yeah.
So she could see this is something real, and he was bringing this ancient knowledge and explaining, and he was, so convincing that, thousands of young people who their parents couldn't control, the governments couldn't control, nobody could control, became new people, new consciousness, new direction in life, new goal, new determination, new inspiration, Because and it was just like, wow.
I guess you're just tired of the fake, and then someone tells you something that rings true, really, really rings true. And it may be hard, you may have to change, but it's like you're ready for that. Like you've been through the trying this and trying that and nothing works. And then, it's like, wow, let's go for this. Yeah. I wasn't in that era, but I can totally relate to what you're saying from my personal experience as well.
Yeah. And they saw their heroes dying of drugs,
Yeah.
The great rock stars, the singers, Jim Morrison or, Janis Joplin or Jimi Hendrix. And, these were the heroes, the idols, and they just saw them dying, age 27, boom, they die. Age 20, 3 or 4 of them died at age 27. Like, okay, you can go to 27. And then that's the end, It was unique how that took place, kind of spaced out over a short period of time.
Really?
Several of them left their bodies at 27 years old, drug overdoses, and, so they were getting the message, but they didn't know what else to do. They didn't want to go back to the illusion they just left, but they didn't want to continue in this illusion either. So they saw, here's something that's not an illusion. It's real, it's eternal, it's absolute truth.
Yeah.
And when they began to experience that, they were knowing, this is not the same. This is absolutely different, And like a friend of mine told me recently, before she met these teachings and started applying bhakti yoga in her life, and she said, I was so unhappy, I was so miserable, and she was like a second generation hippie. He wasn't in that hippie era, but she was trying to play the game after that was over, like in the 90s or something.
Okay, yeah.
And, like copy that, because it must have been cool. There was anyway. And she said, but suicide wasn't an option because I wanted to live, but I wanted to live differently. I wanted to live and be happy, And then she wasn't contemplating suicide. She said, I didn't want to die. I wanted to live, but I wanted to live differently. And that's a very, profound way to put out what people are feeling in their heart. I don't want to not live, but I want to live differently.
Yeah.
And here was a different way to live.
Yeah.
She heard the teachings. She, took to the process. And here it was, a way to live differently.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's very, very educational. But our time is flying. I wanted to read something.
I was going to say, you had some quote from, or no?
Yeah. We're always on our podcast talking about chanting. Oh, we talk about this, that, some subject, and take it where it goes. And then, but chant. And this will change everything. This is the ultimate activity. That's where they all go, right?
Yeah.
All of our discussions. So, in our disciplic line, and if someone has missed that meaning, disciplic line means there's a line of teachers that this knowledge has come through, descended through a line of perfect masters. And this is called the disciplic succession, or parampara. And the original source of all this knowledge is the Supreme Lord. And then it passes down through his pure representatives. So, 5 spiritual masters back in our lineage is the great spiritual master Vaishnava, devotee of the Lord, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And he was very prolific in writing. And one of the things he wrote is called Chant Anyway. So I wanted to read this. This is geared toward people who are already chanting, but it's also very, very revealing to those who are not chanting. He says, your mind is wandering all over the universe when you chant. Chant anyway. Your mind is wandering to the past and the future when you chant. Chant anyway. You are not able to concentrate on Krishna's names while you chant. Chant anyway. You have no taste for chanting. Chant anyway. You have lusty desires. Chant anyway. You are making offenses in chanting. Chant anyway. You are not praying to Krishna to help you chant better. Chant anyway. You often chant late at night. Chant anyway. So why? Why should you chant despite all the above obstacles? So this is back to the why.
Exactly.
Knowing why. This is why. There is no vow like chanting the holy name. No knowledge superior to it. No meditation which comes anywhere near it. And it gives the highest result. No penance is equal to it. And nothing is as potent or powerful as the holy name. Chanting is the greatest act of piety and the supreme refuge. Even the words of the Vedas do not possess sufficient power to describe its magnitude. Chanting is the highest path to liberation, peace, and eternal life. It is the pinnacle of devotion, the heart's joyous proclivity and attraction, and the best form of remembrance of the Supreme Lord. The holy name has appeared solely for the benefit of the living entities as their Lord and Master, their supreme worshipable object, and their spiritual guide and mentor. Whoever continuously chants Lord Krishna's holy name, even in his sleep, can easily realize that the name is a direct manifestation of Krishna himself, in spite of the influences of Kali Yuga. And this is from the Saranagati, the Adi Purana of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
Wow.
So that is the reason why. And leading up to that was chant anyway, no matter what's going on. In your head, you're making offenses, you have no taste. I don't want to do this. Chant anyway. There's where some determination comes in.
Yeah, exactly.
Some discipline.
Exactly.
I will chant.
Exactly.
Because as we know, from having done this for some years, I know, all those who have done it, there's always ups and downs.
Yeah.
There's times when it's so easy to chant and you're so wanting to chant and you're so enthusiastic to chant. And then there's times when, it's not like that, It's not so easy. There's there's other things to do. There's attractions and there's, all this distraction going on. But if you've got that principle I'm going to chant today, every day. Like the alcoholics, one of their main tools that they use is one day at a time. Not like I'm never going to drink again.
Yeah.
It's like today,
Yeah.
I'm not going to drink.
Yeah.
One day at a time. So we need to apply that same idea. One day at a time. Today, I'm going to chant.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow is the same. Today, I'm going to chant. Because every day, like we could say, is different.
Yeah.
Today, I really want to chant. Today, I don't want to chant at all.
Yeah.
Today, I'm so enthusiastic. Today, I'm just got no enthusiasm. Or I got so much to do, I don't have time to chant. Whatever. My mind is not into it. This happened and whatever. No, you chant anyway. No matter what. Stricture, discipline, chant anyway.
Wow.
That's what must be done. And, even if we've been so loose and had no discipline our whole life, it's never too late.
Yeah.
We can start. This is what I'm going to do. And then all the reasons why, There's no vow like chanting the holy name. See? No vow. The scriptures of different types and whatever have always said, take a vow to do this, take a vow to do that. There's no vow like chanting the holy name. You want to take a vow? Take that vow. I will chant the holy name. No knowledge superior to it. No knowledge. No matter how much you go into philosophies, there's no knowledge superior to chanting the holy name. No meditation which comes anywhere near it. Oh, but I like to meditate in this way. Oh, but I have my meditation. Oh, I figured out this meditation. The mountains are my meditation. In terms of my stuff. Mountain biking is my meditation. Whatever. There is no meditation that comes anywhere near it. And it gives the highest result. The highest result. Nothing is equal. No penance is equal to it. See? Penance, sacrifice. That's part of spiritual life. Part of material life, too, if you want to be successful. This young girl, Emma, I can tell you, she put in a lot of sacrifice to reach that goal.
That's probably true, yeah. Gave up a lot of things. Yeah.
Gave up a lot, But in spiritual life, yes, that's required. But there's no penance equal to it.
Huh.
Nothing is as potent or powerful as the holy name. Nothing. This is nothing. This is not like, but this is also powerful. No, there's nothing as potent or powerful as the holy name. Chanting is the greatest act of piety and the supreme refuge. Again, in spiritual life, Bhagavad Gita, for instance, is talking about pious activities and impious activities, and the results are very, very different, But there is no piety greater than the chanting of the holy names, see? And shelter, we're always looking for shelter.
Yeah.
This is the supreme refuge, the supreme shelter, The Bible declares, our help is in the name of the Lord. Save me, O Lord, by thy name. This is not just, some teaching of some, narrow sectarian belief system. This is universal absolute truth, So, chanting is the highest path to liberation, peace, and eternal life. The highest path. It doesn't say it's the only path there is. It's the highest path to liberation, peace, and eternal life. It's got the power. It's got the potency. It's the most pleasing. It's the greatest act of piety. The pinnacle of devotion. Again, we hear that word a lot, especially in spiritual, discussions.
Devotion, yeah.
Devotion, love and devotion.
Yeah.
But this is the pinnacle of devotion. If devotion means I'm devoted to the one I love or the one I want to love. I'm devoted to this person. And so this is the pinnacle of devotion. The heart's joyous proclivity.
That one really stuck out to me. I was going to say, oh, wow, it's beautiful.
We're always feeling so empty in the heart, and, the heart's just not happy. This is heart's joyous proclivity. In other words, we're inclined to this. This is normal. This is the natural proclivity of the soul. See? And the soul is in the heart. This is the heart's natural proclivity. But we've covered it up so much with garbage that we can't even experience that. So that's why, one reason why the more you chant, the more attractive it is. And the more joy it brings. See?
Because you're taking away the contamination around of the heart, yeah.
Yeah. And the true nature of the heart blossoms.
Yeah.
And it is also the heart's attraction. Same idea. This is natural for the soul to be attracted to the holy name. And is the best form of remembrance of the Supreme Lord. Yeah. Our major problem is we've forgotten the Lord. This is the best form of remembrance of the Supreme Lord. Chanting the holy names. The holy name has appeared solely for the benefit of the living entities as their Lord and Master. The holy name appears for our benefit. And again, one may have an attitude like, well, I'm doing God a favor by doing this. Oh, I'm doing God a favor. Out of my kindness and mercy, I'm doing the Lord a favor. You see? No, the holy name appears solely for the benefit of the living entities as their Lord and Master. This is for our benefit. As our Lord and Master. Their supreme worshipable object. Supreme worshipable object. And their spiritual guide and mentor. It's all there in the holy name.
Wow.
All there. Whoever continuously chants Lord Krishna's holy name, even in his sleep, can easily realize that the name is a direct manifestation of Krishna himself, in spite of the influences of Kali Yuga. And we talked about Kali Yuga, how that's the age of influence of demoniac qualities.
Yeah.
The influence to make it so you become more and more hard and greedy and angry and jealous and envious and just dark. That's Kali Yuga's influence. Quarrel, chaos, and confusion.
Yeah.
You see, hate. Hate is just like so prominent. I hate you. No. In spite of all the influences of Kali Yuga, one can directly realize that this is a manifestation of Krishna himself. It's realized by that practitioner. So it goes back to the discipline, the determination. And if we've got that training somewhere along the line, like Emma, the tennis player, if she somehow decided to take the spiritual life, all that discipline and training would be a huge plus.
Yeah.
That would be a great asset. That would be like no problem.
Mm.
You know, I mean, in my own life, as I just been talking earlier about my childhood training, then I went into the military. Well, the military is all about discipline, as you well know. Over there.
Yeah.
It's all about discipline and training. So when I came to this process, I met my spiritual master, Siddha Swarupananda, and he introduced me to this teaching and the discipline required. It wasn't a big deal for me at all. I was used to listening to authorities. It wasn't like some unknown way to live.
Yeah.
It was like, it was just a different authority, and the discipline was, a little bit different, but it was the same thing. It was just redirected in a different way, different techniques, different requirements, but the same thing. So that was a big asset.
I just had to say, which is so beautiful, that it's not two separate worlds. Like you have your material life, and then you have your spiritual teacher, and that's where you go on Sundays and listen to, or at specific times, and you act in a certain way, and you do certain things. No, it's like it's all intertwined. Yeah. It's your life, and it.
Yeah, exactly. But the opposite is true. If you've had no discipline and you have never accepted an authority, then when you come, how are you going to, you're going to be struggling. I mean, why should I accept you as authority? I mean, I never accept anybody else's authority. Why you?
Yeah.
It's just like that rebellious nature just coming to the front, or, regularity in life and all those things is unknown. So it's going to be you're going to be struggling with that. So whatever, there's never any damage resulting from, but only good resulting from this foundation.
Yeah.
Discipline, respect, authorities, be willing to give up something for a higher cause. On any level, material or spiritual, that's an asset. And that's human life. That's what human life is. It's what we are supposed to do with a human life.
And human society is meant to teach us these assets so that we can bring them into our spiritual life and apply them to our real to the real benefit, to the highest benefit.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
And then you can experience that joyous proclivity of the heart. Yeah. It's something that's real. So our time is up again.
Yeah.
So let us end with our chanting.
Yeah, let's do that.
And again, we'll do the same mantra. If any listeners, want to know one more mantra sometime, let us know. We have more. But this one is Gauranga Haribo. Haribo, Goranga, hey.
Haribo, Goranga.
Haribo, Goranga.
Haribo, Goranga.
Haribo, Goranga. Haribo, Goranga. Haribo, Goranga, Goranga, Haribo, Haribo, Goranga, Goranga, Haribo. Haribo, Goranga, Goranga, Haribo. Haribo, Goranga, Goranga, Haribo. Haribo, Haribo, Goranga, Goranga, Haribo. Haribo, Goranga, Goranga, Haribo. Haribo, Haribo, Goranga, Goranga, Haribo. Haribo, Goranga, Goranga, Haribo. Haribo,